What's going on, guys? Jared here, Dex and Dice, Ramblings of an LGS owner. It's been a minute. Probably 5 months, kind of minutes. Um, but yeah, I'm back. Hopefully, we'll be back to a semi-regular cadence of my Ramblings of an LGS owner. We'll see, because I'm still trying to correct things after our last quarter last year, and maybe probably the final month of the third quarter and the last quarter of last year was complete and total crap for us. I know that probably goes against what you've seen other YouTubers and all that being like, oh, 2025 was great, yada 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 yada, and it could have been for them, probably was, I don't know. Kudos to them for being able to have a great year. Like, I mean, I only say that with like 15% fucking, screw you kind of thing. So, it is what it is. And I mean that in like the best way possible. Like, love you guys. It just wasn't that way for us. And I'll probably. The best way I can sum up as to like why, because you're probably asking why, is because I fell into, it wasn't really I fell into, but I just happened to go into what I have dubbed the distro trap. And if any of my distros are watching, which I highly doubt you are because I'm a nobody cares, I'm kind of just shouting into the wind here, the void, whatever you want to call it. The distro trap was, how can I explain this? So we have to put in our pre-orders and stuff for products anywhere from like 4 to 6 months in advance. Okay. During that time, we have no clue as to how the product is going to perform or any of that. We don't know the demand, nothing. We just know that, oh, hey, it's a set from this game, and we kind of have to look at our numbers, mentally remember, yeah, this game does well at the shop, this game is struggling, this game, maybe I might need to order an extra case just to have some extra product, to maybe give it a little bit of a shot in the arm, to see what happens, etc., etc. There are tons of reasons to, over order, we'll say. And that's kind of where we fell in, but it wasn't because of exact over ordering. It was because, just for an example, like let's say I put in for 12 cases of something. Not really a lot or often would I get all 12 cases. And again, this is just figurative numbers, okay? I'd put in for 12, I might get 5, 6 cases, maybe 7. Okay, if whatever game publisher overprinted stuff, I might see 7, 8 cases, with the option of getting more or whatever like later. But 9 times out of 10, my 12 would get cut. Okay, and this is normal. That is how the game works. Distros go on your spend within a certain category and product range. Like, that's just how it goes. So if I don't spend a lot with, I don't know, Bandai, I don't get a lot of Bandai games. If I don't spend a lot with Konami, I don't get a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, etc., etc. What happened, and there's no... What happened was I started getting everything I requested. And my shop isn't, and my community is really small. Or, well, it's not small, but it's a small area. I'm in a small town just outside of Clemson, South Carolina, and I'm heavily dependent on the ebb and flow of the university, even though I'm like 15, 20 minutes outside of there. And there's not really a whole lot of people in this town currently to support something of that measure physically in the store. Okay. But anyways, I'd be getting everything that I put in for. And that was running up the terms that I use with my main distro, something fierce. Okay. I have an okay amount with my main distro, all right? I don't want to go into exact numbers, but like I have a pretty good terms limit with them. And I would never really max that out until this started happening. And it's really hard for a small shop like mine with like the limited foot traffic I can get or do get, especially being in the downtown area. It's heavily dependent on if there's anything going on. Like if there's an event going on, like a little car show or jazz on the alley or any of that, it kills my foot traffic because there's nowhere to park. Anyways, once I started getting everything that I wanted or that I put in for, it became a snowball effect. Having to pay back, because my terms are set for, are set for 15 days. Or 16. 15 or 16. It's one of those two. So from the time that invoice is made, like let's say it's made on like a Monday or whatever, I have 15 days from that Monday starting then to pay back, we'll say $10,000 to $12,000. I automatically lose 2 or 3 days because it's got to get picked, packed, shipped, and arrived. Okay, so like I automatically lose 2 or 3 days. So you might as well say I have a 12-day terms with this distro. Having to pay back 10, 12, 13, 14, 15,000 in 12 days is hard for me. Okay? I know I can see some of you bigger people out there be like, oh man, that's nothing. I buy pallets all the time. It's fucking nothing. You ain't got nothing to worry about. I can do that in my sleep. Fucking kudos, guy. That's not where I'm at. I wish I was. It's not where I'm at. So I would have to just figure it the fuck out. And luckily, my beautiful ADHD autism, yes, I actually have that. This is not a self-diagnosed bullshit. It's just the way that I am. I know that's become a popular thing to be, but yes, I am. And luckily for me, the way my shit works is if it's crunch time, it's crunch time. Everything fires the way it should. I operate really well in chaos. Okay? Luckily for me, I was able to figure it the fuck out. Yeah, I had help from some of the people with liquidating items and all that good stuff. And then, having to sell shit on TCG for lower to fire sell things, because as Rudy says, I was a Timmy, but I wasn't a Timmy intentionally. Because there's no way for you to know that you have crossed this threshold. You just all of a sudden, boom, you get your 12 cases. Boom, you get your 12 cases. And you can't say no, because otherwise you'll harm your relationship with your distro. Enough cancels and all that good stuff, they will pull your contract, tell you to kick rocks, and you're SOL, you're out of distro. So you really have no choice but to just grant or take it, because distros are like the mafia. They're cool, as long as you're cool. They will joke with you, all that good stuff, give you what you want. But if you fuck up, they'll take your knees. And that's just kind of the way it is, all right? So that was a big struggle for me the last 5 months, we'll say, the quarter and the month into the third quarter, so five months. In that time, I had to get another full-time job on top of this just because I needed a steady income to make sure bills at the house would be paid. And it was really hard. Like, it sucked. Luckily, I think we are out of that currently. I can at least see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't hear a train, so hopefully it's not that. Could be an electric train, but anyways, I don't hear a train. But we'll see. And like another thing that did not help with that was, as I'm sure you guys have heard from other, YouTubers and everything, especially Mason did his video with Yu-Gi-Oh! And the other smaller games that he carries, because it's the same thing here too. Konami really messed up with Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, there's hands down, the last year has been just complete butt with Yu-Gi-Oh! And that helped compound the issues that we had last year. I'll just say last year. Because when you put in, when you get 4 or 5 cases of Yu-Gi-Oh, but you were used to at least being able to sell the boxes for 80, making a little bit of profit, but then they go straight dick in the dirt to like $30 a box on TCG Player. You're like, oh great. So I have 12, 24, 36. I have like 48 boxes of this shit that I can't even make back what I spent at distro level on it. But I need to get rid of it. So I need to just grin and bear it. So you put it online for $30 a box, $35 a box, whatever. You sell it in the store for $30 to $40 a box, whatever. Like, and you take that $10, $15, $20 a box loss, and it just snowballs. Especially with the cadence that Konami had last year with the releases. They were almost as bad as Magic about boom, 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 boom. And this happens with other smaller games too. Like Union Arena is a good example of that. Luckily, I didn't really go complete and total just dumb with Union Arena, just because it's a really small game. We don't have a lot of people who play it, so I don't put in for a lot of numbers initially anyways. But it happens to that game too, where you spend $40 or whatever it is a box per distro, and then they're on TCG for $30 a box, $25 a box, maybe $45 a box. So like after fees, you're still losing $3 or $4 a box. So anyways, so yeah, that happened a lot with Yu-Gi-Oh! Last year in every set, unless it was the rarity collections or the Stampede, whatever it was that came out that were the premium sets last year. Those did pretty decent, but I mean they're premium sets; they're gonna do pretty good. But every other set sucked, including what little structure decks came out last year, like. Woohoo. Anyways. So the horrible pricing and sales that went with that, and the snowball effect of losing, $15, $20 a box when you have 48 boxes, that compounds. On top of this, other standard losses you may or may not take with other products, that month or week or whatnot. That helped snowball and chipped away at our war coffers that I had been able to put back, just because it's what you do. You run a business, you don't blow everything, you put back what you can. Yeah, sure, 80% of what you make needs to be reinvested back into your business, but you need to be able to put some back in case something like this happens, which it did. So that little snowball that chipped away at the war chest faster than I anticipated it would. I remember looking at the account one day and being like, shit. So that's why I had to go get another full-time job on top of, the shop, just to make ends meet. But anyways, that's what I call the distro trap. If you're just starting out, just beware. They're not going to tell you you've crossed some kind of threshold. You're just going to start getting what you put in for. And again, you can't cancel stuff. You have to pre-order stuff 4 to 6 months in advance. You don't know what's going on. Because I know a lot of you are like, well, why did you have so much of the sets that came out last year when you knew they were going? No one knew they were going to perform that way. Again, 4 to 6 months in advance. By the time you figure out that everything is going dick in the dirt, you've already had to put in for 4 sets into the new year or whatever, So like you're kind of screwed. Um, so just be aware of that. Your distro is not going to tell you. It's just going to kind of happen, and you're going to have to figure it the fuck out, like we did. And like I said, luckily, we had enough in the coffers to weather that storm, to at least keep the doors open. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have closed the shop. I mean, it simple as that. So, anyways, that's kind of the biggest things that happened the last quarter and a half, whatever you want to call it, last year that kind of screwed things up, that made me have to step away from doing content and everything. As you can tell, I'm probably a little rusty because I haven't done this in 5 fucking months. So hopefully that won't happen again. I have, when it comes to Konami and Yu-Gi-Oh, I have cut back drastically on what I ordered. I have ordered 1 case. There's been a few of the sets that I was actually able to pull back on. Tell my dude, hey, I don't want 5 cases. Can you try to offload them on other stores? Luckily, a lot of those he has been able to move to other stores. So like I'm back to 1, maybe 2 cases if he couldn't move them enough of Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's going to be enough for our local scene to either we just use the 12 boxes for prize support and run our little locals or whatnot. If we need more boxes, I'll just go on TCG Player and buy them from other shops at lower than what Distro gives me. And that's going to be that. Until Konami figures it the fuck out. And I don't mean with these upcoming sets that are going to have the frame breakers or whatever in the serialized. I expect those to do really well, the first 3 sets that is, but the 4th, 5th, and 6th, we will see if it's enough to warrant going back into the amount of Yu-Gi-Oh that I did put in for. And if you're familiar with distros, that kind of puts me in a bind because they go by what you spend. And if I'm only buying a case of, then that means that my numbers won't be good enough to get 4 or 5 cases of stuff. I'll have to work my way back up probably, but I'll cross that road when I get there. But this is just what we're doing with Yu-Gi-Oh here at the shop now. 1 case, maybe 2, and anything excess, I'm just buying off a TCG Player. If I lose OTS status because of that, then it is what it is. OTS is great, but I can't keep doing Yu-Gi-Oh if it's going to be like trying to wear damn, lead boots while I'm swimming, like I said in my Discord. I just can't do it. So, yeah, just be really careful if you're just starting out with your distros and all. You're going to need to put in for more cases than you think you're going to need because you're going to get cut, like I said. You put in for 12, you might get 4, you might get 5, you might only get 2. So you're still going to put in for 12 in hopes of maybe you get 6 or 7, Just be careful. They're not going to tell you cross the threshold. You're just going to automatically, boom, be in that threshold. And then you're going to be getting all 12 cases you asked for. And you may or may not be equipped to move that. And okay, I hear you as well with, well, just put them on TCG Player and sell them during the pre-release. Hold your titties. I've thought about that, and as viable as it sounds, follow me on this. So I have 15 days to pay back the terms, correct? We are WPN and the equivalent of that with every other game that we carry, so we can do stuff a week in advance. I lose 2 or 3 days automatically just on shipping, handling, and all that good stuff. If you put it up on TCG Player, you don't get that payout for those pre-orders until the game launches, which is 2 weeks after I get it. Okay, because you have pre-release week, which TCG will let you take pre-orders on or during, but your payout for that won't be on that week or the following week's payout. During release week, you can ship all that stuff out, and then the week after the official release week, on the following Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll see your payouts for those pre-orders. So you're looking at roughly 21 days of not being able to get your money for the pre-orders you put up on, and that is, a week after what my terms are. So I'm not proud to admit this, but yeah, that made me actually bounce 2 of my distro payments just because of that right there, because I had no choice but to put stuff up on pre-order and wait that long. And then there was just having to liquidate things. Like, thankfully, I know people in the local area that I can liquidate stuff to. I don't like doing it because I lose a shit ton of money. But when your balls are in the vice grips, what are you going to do? You got to do what you got to do. So, yeah. All that being said, just go back to watch your ass, be wary. Maybe ask your distro guy if he can give you a heads up, but I don't even think they know. It just populates, and boom, you get everything you want. So, anywho, I didn't really mean to ramble for 21 minutes, but here we are. I guess I'm trying to make up for lost time, trying to get used to making content again, which is something I would like to start doing. You'll probably, if I do it on a regular basis, you'll start seeing, obviously, the normal background, but I also have a small office in my basement that I moved my mana pool inventory to, and that's where we pack mana pool orders. I got a PC in there. I'm probably going to put a little webcam on and do some videos from there. I know I hear you too. Oh, you got a basement. You must be... Nah, bro. My house was built in 1960. It's kind of half-ass falling apart. It's a whopping 1,400 square feet with a basement that is 1,400 square feet as well. It's like a basement / garage. There's a big old garage door. Anyways, it's not what you're thinking it is. It's not like a pokey any basement or anything. It's legit. I mean, you'll see. You'll see. But anyways, saying pokey, because I like Brian, good dude. Like, I got nothing against him. I watch his content all the time. It's just kind of cool to watch, kind of like Rudy, But like, during my little hiatus there, trying to pull my head out of my ass, scratch and pull everything I could to just try to survive and make sure that the doors remained open, for lack of a better term. When you sit there and you watch these people and you're like, how, bro? Like, how? I'm 5 years into it. You're 5 years into it. How are you already a multi-millionaire? And then you're like, oh, because, well, everyone's story is different, and I'm not even throwing shade or anything like that by picking on Brian or Rudy for that matter. Like, fucking Rudy's great. I talk to him probably once or twice a week, just, Patreon messages and shit. But everyone's story is different. And comparing me to Brian, for example, just to keep picking on him, no offense, is like apples and oranges. I don't have a dual income household. My wife does homeschooling and all that good stuff, like she helps out with packing orders and stuff. Like, that's why the mana pool inventory moved to the house, so she could feel like she was, and she is, mind you, doing stuff, which is great. She packs up the mana pool stuff now. But like, I didn't have dual income. He has dual income. He was making like, I don't know, what was it? 40, 50, 60,000 a year or whatever it was with his little job anyways, which if you're out in Arkansas or even in, I say Arkansas, but I say Arkansas because why not? Um, with a dual income, that's decent money. You have the chance to put stuff back if you want to or whatever. And I know, I'm not even like trying to throw shade. Again, I'm not. But like, that shit helped, and if you're kind of in the same boat as me where like you're just kind of looking at these dudes and being like, man, how are you, how it's just because their story's different, man. They're little pillars that they're not telling you about, and I mean that in the best way possible. That's the reason why they're able to excel when you're not. Like again with Brian's scenario, he doesn't have an actual shop. He doesn't have the overhead for a full ass different location. Everything is his house. Like his mortgage, his utilities, and all that covers his business. He doesn't really have to worry about a separate whole ass like bill structure. And that saves you a shit ton of money. Let me tell you, that saves you a shit ton of money per month that you could just use to reinvest if you don't have to worry about it. So like, don't feel as bad as you probably do when you look at these people. Like, there's nuances there that they don't tell you, they forgot to tell you, they don't want to tell you. It's just something that they just took for granted. It's a small, minor thing to them, but it could be huge to you, Don't get too discouraged. Just keep doing what you got to do. If you find yourself in a troubling situation, you just got to figure it the fuck out like I did. You can do it. I'm sure you can. Just don't beat yourself up mentally about these like out of touch YouTubers. I don't know how else to put it. It's super easy to be like, I'm a multimillionaire now and this is what you've got to do because it worked for me, and it really won't work that way. Like, it just won't. Your scenario is different than their scenario. Even the smallest minute difference can mean a world of difference, man. Like, what is that old saying? What is it, like, even a rock in the stream makes the stream flow different or something like that. Even a small pebble in the stream makes the stream, whatever. So it's something along those lines. So just stop doing kind of like what I did a little bit, comparing myself to. It's not the same, man. It's not the same, won't ever be the same. I'm probably not going to be a fucking multimillionaire doing this shit just because my scenario is completely different than anyone else's, My scenario may be close to one of y'all's, and you might be able to learn something from me by telling you stuff, but even then, there's differences that are going to make a big difference, So, just be careful. I just be careful. Don't beat yourself up over it, because it's really easy to do. It is. Because I even still kind of half-assed do it. You just, you look at fucking Brian or Rob or Mason, or I don't even try to compare myself to Rudy, because that's a whole ass 30 years in the making that I just don't have. I can just sit there and admire what the man has done and be like, if I had a time machine, But anyways, you're not going to be like them. You're not them. Do the best that you can. Pick what works for you. Figure it the fuck out. And maybe you'll end up with, and I mean this the most respectful way, shop. Maybe you'll end up being the boss man of your own best shithole. And maybe that's the best you can ever fucking hope for. Unless something miraculous happens. Which, fingers crossed. There's always that. Anyways, guys, I'm out of out of touch doing this. I don't have a cadence anymore for it. It's already been 30 minutes. I'm sure most of you have checked out, and that's fine. I get it. If you have made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to do better. I'm going to get better. Don't worry about it. Oh, speaking of bullshit and rough times and all that, I actually wrote a book during this dumb fiasco of mine and put it up on Amazon. So if you want to check it out, it'll be in the description below. And yeah, that's all I got, guys. I got a whole bunch of stuff to do, so I'm gonna go and start doing it. But anyways, like I like to say, life is not a dick. You don't have to take it so hard. But sometimes the dick wins. Sometimes the dick wins. Have a good one, guys.